Hello everyone, my name is Jason, aka Bacon Chest, coach of the St Kilda Superiors. Welcome to week 5 of the MLBA, where this week we are taking on Zone and the Hamilton Torracats. So, Zone's team is very scary. This is a really terrifying matchup. I hadn't really paid attention to their squad up until now, and I kind of regret it because I, might have even made some transactions or generally spent a bit more time prepping in retrospect. But, I mean, to be honest, I felt like we prepped quite well in this game, regardless. But let's get into it. So they have a team of Tapu, Lele, Mega Alakazam, Magnezone, Tsarina, Zoroark, Haxorus, Feraligatr, Hitmonlee, Munchlax, Dugtrio, and Simisear, with Z moves on Zoroark, Haxorus, Feraligatr, Dugtrio, and Simisear. Which is a really scary set of Z users, frankly. Like, all of those are really good Z-mons, and to have 5 of them is, kind of shows the, not so much the problems, but the, kind of somewhat broken shit you can do with a Z-point system as flexible as the one that we do have. So let's just, analyze this team a little bit for a second, right? Because, obviously the main premise here is that Psychic Terrain from Tapu Lele makes Mega Alakazam, disgustingly powerful, makes Lele itself incredibly powerful. And obviously stops priority, so things like Sucker Punch and Bullet Punch can't stop those things from sweeping through your team. But that's, the first layer, right? There's obviously also the fact that there are not one, but two trappers on this team in the forms of Magnezone with Magna-Pull and Dugtrio with Arena Trap, which get rid of Steel types, which is a real, obviously the thing that you would largely switch in to both Lele and Zam. There's also a Hitmonlee, and don't think I didn't notice that Hitmonlee is there, right? Because that thing can get Unburden, and with the Psychic Seed, can then live pretty much any special hit, because it'll be at +1 special defense, and sweep through your team at +2 speed, with, again, Fighting Stab to hit Steel types. So that's a real issue. Obviously, Fighting Stab in this case also getting rid of Dark types, which is really important. On top of that, there are also 2 Dragonant sweepers in the form of Haxorus and Feraligatr. They're both really threatening. And finally, there's also a Munchlax there, which, with its kind of mini Curselax kind of set, is actually really good at punishing the kind of passive walls that you might try and run that may be able to switch in repeatedly to Lele and Zam, to the extent that those exist, which, I guess, really bulky Psychics, that maybe something like Spiritomb, but even that's, obviously that dies to Moonblast, so, there just aren't really switch-ins for Lele and Megazam, that are, in any way consistent. But yeah, so this team's, very threatening. Oh, and Simisear as well, for Steel types. Yeah, so this team's, very well built. There are a couple of flaws, with it that we tried to exploit with this team build. The first is that it has bad normal resist, with the only normal resist being Magnezone, and just generally bad physical defense. Especially if Tsarina doesn't come, when Feraligatr is probably one of your top 3 physically bulky mons, then you haven't got a very physically bulky team. So that's something you can potentially exploit. And the second thing is that the removal on this team is limited to Tsarina, which obviously means you can potentially hazard stack. We don't have the option to hazard stack, but we can at least try and get up rocks. So let's get into the team that we decided to bring. Started off with a Mega Tyranitar, Crunch, Iron Tail, Superpower, Thunder Punch, Crunch for the Megazam, Iron Tail for the Lele, Superpower for the Magnezone, and Thunder Punch for the Feraligatr, with that coverage also just kind of generally hitting most of his team. Obviously Superpower hitting the Zoroark. Oh yeah, and I forgot to even mention the fact that this team also has a Zoroark, so all of these terrifying mons, things like Magnezone and Dugtrio, and Feraligatr and Haxorus, could also potentially be a Zoroark, a Z Zoroark. So yeah, this team is disgusting. But anyway, this Mega Tyranitar has max HP, max special attack, max special defense with a careful nature, 4 attack, just, for lols. This thing lives focus blasts from Lele and Zam. If they're like modest max special attack, modest max special attack Zam, I think we still live a focus blast from full, and we obviously KO back with crunch. Lele, I believe we have a chance of living Specs Moonblast. Was like modest Specs Moonblast? We definitely lived timid Specs Moonblast. It's something ridiculous like that. Like, this thing is so fat with the Sandstream, obviously giving it that special defense boost. It also just like tanks hits from Doug Trio, which I'm expecting to be Scarf because I do have the Tapu Koko and he needs to outspeed me. So we tank a hit from that. We tank hits from Magnezone. We tank hits from Zoroark. We tank hits from Haxorus. Like, yeah, like this thing is just a fat check to my opponent's team, and because he doesn't have particularly good physical defense, we just don't need that attack investment, particularly with, base 164 attack. So yeah, this thing's kind of just a catch-all, like, hopefully catches something. It also sets up the sand, which will become relevant later. Second thing was an Assault Vest Tangrowth. Again, max Spidef. Earthquake for the Magnezone, Sludge Bomb for the Lele, Giga Drain just as general stab, also so for Doug Trio for Alligator, potentially get some recovery off on things like Zoroark, and knockoff because knockoff for the Megazam, and also just to generally like ease prediction, because yeah, if we could knock off onto a Lele, that could potentially be really useful if it is Scarf. Or even Specs, to be honest, like knocking off a Specs from that thing would also be great. And we can also get rid of things like a Scarf from Magnezone or an Assault Vest from Magnezone, or, and the other thing that knockoff did was it knocks off the Eviolite from Munchlax, which was potentially an issue for this team. So yeah, that's really important. But yeah, this thing, again, tanks hits from Lele and Zam, also tanks hits from Magnezone, also with the fact that it does still have really good physical bulk, it's able to tank hits from the Hitmonlee and the Haxorus, unless the Haxorus is like Z Poison Jab. And yeah, so that's like pretty good as well. So then we have a Shed Shell Infernape, so we can avoid getting revenged by Doug Trio. U-turn, Fire Punch, Close Combat, Gunk Shot. Gunk Shot obviously being there for the Lele. If he's not Scarf Lele, we can always revenge with this Infernape. We have the Fire Punch there to hit things like the Magnezone and the Sarina. And, obviously Close Combat is hitting the Magnezone harder, but, like, we can potentially ease prediction there. And then U-turn just for momentum. This thing is just quite a good kind of catch-all check, depending on the kind of team that my opponent brings. Obviously, it also, like, threatens things like the Munchlax, it threatens the Magnezone. And, yeah, it's kind of a, like, generally good response to some of the things that my opponent can bring, and it can generally like do some like chunks of damage in the sort of early to mid game. We then have a Shukaberry Tapu Koko, U-turn, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt, Brave Bird. Brave Bird is there for the Sarina, but also for the Hitmonlee. So this thing, tanks a hit from a Unburden boosted Hitmonlee and KOs back with Brave Bird 100% of the time. Where obviously Dazzling Gleam would not do that because of the Spidef boost, and also because Hitmonlee has really good natural special defense. We can tank an Earthquake from a Scarf Doug Trio with this thing and just like get on out of there with U-turn, so that's really good. And Dazzling Gleam, T-Bolt are just good stab options against my opponent's team. And obviously this thing can also, set the terrain to potentially stop Lele from KOing things with Psychic, from that Psychic boosted terrain. So yeah. Second, Shukaberrymon is the Metagross. This is here to set rocks. It can tank a hit from Lele and or Zam, but it's not really there to do that. It's there to set rocks, because that ensures us KOs with our last mon. Meteor Mash is really good because obviously hits, Zam, Lele, Zoroark, Haxorus, Hitmonlee, Munchlax, Dugtrio, yeah. And then Earthquake's hitting like Simisear, Magnezone, mostly Magnezone, and then Thunder Punch is there for the Feraligatr because otherwise this is setup bait for a Feraligatr, and particularly since there's a reasonable chance we have Electric Terrain up, then there's at least some chance of that. Then Thunder Punch can actually do like quite a lot of damage. So yeah, Thunder Punch is potentially like really good there. And yeah, like allows us to, potentially revenge with, or not revenge, but like, check this thing with Mega T-Tower, check Feraligatr with Mega T-Tower or Tangrowth afterwards. Our last mon on this team is a Choice Banded Stoutland, Return Superpower, Play Rough, Wild Charge. This thing outspeeds everything in the sand. Return kills basically everything except for the Magnezone, which Superpower obviously destroys. We've got Play Rough there, because it does hit the Zoroark and the Haxorus a little bit harder, so like a really, really bulky Haxorus, if it comes down to it, and those are the two mons left, obviously we'll, click Play Rough. Same with like Wild Charge, onto the like Feraligatr, for example. So yeah, just max attack, Adamant. We could have run Jolly to outspeed a couple more like Scarfers, like I think we can outspeed Scarf Dugtrio if we go like max speed Jolly. Don't quote me on that, but like I believe we can do that. But I just wasn't necessarily all that worried about Scarf Dugtrio because it doesn't revenge us, like it does like 50% with Earthquake, so I wasn't hugely concerned about that damage. So let's get into the game. So, we're got the wrong side, so we're gonna have to flip sides in a sec. But as you can see, my opponent decides to bring the Dugtrio, the Haxorus, the Munchlax, the Tapu Lele, the Hitmonlee, and the Alakazam, the Mega Alakazam. So yeah, you can see he's got that Psychic Terrain Core with the Unburden Hitmonlee. I'm definitely expecting that to be the set. I'm probably expecting Scarf Dugtrio, Specs Lele, offensive Mega Alakazam, potentially with sub or potentially sub, Curselax, and DD Haxorus. Or potentially like Scarf Haxorus could have been a thing as well. Dual Scarfers could have potentially been a thing in this game. But yeah, so hang on, let's turn this onto slow, click play, switch sides, as I lead off with my Metagross, because, as I said, I can just click rocks on this Dugtrio. If he can't really stay in here because, like, the fact that I've led off with this, he knows I'm Sugarberry. Like, that's just a guarantee. And given that I'm Sugarberry, I can just Meteor Mash, and then it's 50-50s as to whether or not I click Bullet Punch, because obviously if I do, and he stays in, he dies, and if he switches out to Lele and I click Meteor Mash again, Lele dies. So yeah, this is not actually a good matchup for him, even though it looks like it. So he does switch out to Munchlax as I'm able to, as I click an Earthquake. The reason for that was Earthquake doesn't have a chance to miss, and also took Dugtrio down to its sash / killed it if he did decide to stay in. And obviously Earthquake, hits his entire team. Was going to do like reasonable. It was just kind of reasonable guaranteed damage, and you can see, yeah, we do like 22% to this Munchlax. I believe that tells me that this Munchlax is max physically defensive. Yeah. So we get rocks up as he just immediately goes for a curse. And I'm thinking, okay, so he's just going straight for setup spam in this game. As I go into Tangrowth because I need to knock off this thing's item. Because I know that it's physically defensive, I'm thinking, alright, we can potentially revenge with Tapu Koko. As he just continues to set up. Clicks the Body Slam here, which is actually really good. I'm happy he didn't continue to set up, because we can just heal that damage off with Regenerator. We go out into Infernape here, because I knew that I could live one Body Slam. No. do I live one body slam? Well, we're about to find out. But anyway, I was kind of expecting him to continue to set up because he had free setup opportunities on my Tangrowth because it wasn't really doing anything once it had knocked off. But yeah, at +2, even with max defense, we do like 50+% with close combat. He gets the Amnesia +2 Spadef boost, but yeah, we're able to do 47 with close combat, which is enough damage. Yeah, that's right. We lived that body slam without the defense drops from close combat. So yeah, we were always going to be able to get off that close combat damage. Once we get off that close combat damage, we're able to bring out our Stoutland. Because we're choice banded, we don't even have to click superpower here, so we are able to just click return, knock out the Munchlax. So, 5-5, we've got our rocks up. I'm feeling okay about that exchange. Infernape wasn't amazing in this matchup, because he didn't bring the kind of slower, bulkier stuff that it, you know, kind of pivots around on a lot more effectively. So yeah, I'm okay with that. And, you know, we've gotten rid of kind of the one bulky thing that could tank a hit. Could tank a return. So it goes out to the Hitmonlee as we just go straight into Tangrowth because, yeah, we live this hit very easily. As I go for a... I can't actually remember what I go for here. I go for a Giga Drain. I go for a Giga Drain because that let me get some health back on the Hitmonlee. If it had decided to stay in. So that was kind of nice. We get some decent chip damage off on Lele as I go into Metagross here because Metagross has done its job and isn't really necessary at this point of the battle as he clicks Specs Shadow Ball and we are actually able to live, which is really nice. And so this is really interesting this turn because I don't need this Metagross, but he doesn't know whether I have Bullet Punch. And if I do have Bullet Punch, there's a reason to keep this thing around, even though it's at 9%. To potentially revenge, you know, pretty much any member of his team, if they've taken any kind of chip damage. And so, this is a real... And the thing is that, obviously, if Lele does decide to stay in and click Shadow Ball again, I have a Mega Tyranitar that tanks that very, very easily, and I have a Stoutland that takes absolutely nothing from it. And he does not have a switch in for Stoutland. So... knowing all of that, I decided to click Meteor Mash because I think that I get a kill right here. And you can see that that is actually what happens. So he brings out the Hitmonlee, gets the special defense boost, and instead of that being terrifying, instead it goes away immediately. So that's really nice because, yeah, that goes away. That's really good. He's able to bring out the Dougie and now just click Earthquake and kill us. So, yep, cool. That's fine. We eat our Sugar Berry, which obviously isn't making a difference at this point. But yeah, we get rid of that thing, bring out Tangrowth, and now I believe I click the knockoff or the Sludge Bomb. No, I click the knockoff on the incoming Haxorus. I click the knockoff in case he just did decide to go Lele, although I suppose like Lele's wouldn't have been a good switch at that point because it has taken so much chip damage. I probably should have just gone straight for Sludge Bomb. In retrospect, because that would have also caught the Lele and would have had a chance of poisoning the Zam, and we don't care about Dugtrio, so yeah. No, I guess Sludge Bomb would have been the best play there, but as it stands, we click knockoff on the Haxorus. We know this thing is Z now because we don't see an item, and so I'm forced to click Sludge Bomb here. This should be a 2-hit KO on this DD Haxorus as he goes to the DD, and yeah, we do enough damage to the point where it's a 2-hit KO. Gets poisoned, which is a little bit unfortunate for my opponent, in that obviously this thing can't sweep through my team, but this thing couldn't sweep through my team regardless. It just couldn't. This is the one misplay, the one big misplay I think I make in this battle. There's another sort of mistake that I made, but it was actually before the battle, and we'll get to that in a moment. But this was the one big misplay, is that I should have just gone straight into Tyranitar. Because hard T-Tar here, because I was kind of expecting a Dragonium Z, to be honest. But I was sort of it's either Dragonium or it's Poisonium. Those are the two Z options that make sense in this matchup. And to be honest, Tyranitar, would have got the sand up regardless, and then died. And that would have given me Stoutland. and I would have still had Tangrowth alive to tank a hit from Megazam or Lele. And given that he actually was Poisonium, that means T-Tar would have actually lived that very, very easily. And then probably died to Earthquake, I guess, and then the Haxorus would have also died. And then then it becomes like, you know, a bit more of a 50-50. But as it is, he's able to get rid of my Tangrowth with the Haxorus. And then I get to this point and I bring out the Tyranitar. And at this point I thought for half a second that I'd won the game. Because I set up the Sand, I Mega Evolve, take the Earthquake, and click Crunch, and we're able to kill off the Haxorus. That obviously doesn't matter at all. And then out comes the Dugtrio, who gets to come out and revenge us with its own Earthquake. But now we have 3 turns of Sand, my opponent has 3 Pokemon, and I bring out the Stoutland thinking, well, yeah, we just click return 3 times and all of these Pokemon die. And it's at this point that, I think it was actually a couple of seconds before this, but I realized that I have made a huge mistake in prep, which is that I forgot that Mega Alakazam gets Trace. And yeah, so that's actually going to be game to my opponent, because I'm going to be able to click return here and kill the Dugtrio. The Dugtrio does get to Earthquake me first, but that's like functionally irrelevant. I mean, potentially we would have maybe been able to live a Zam's Psychic. No, we definitely wouldn't live Zam's Psychic, because to the extent that we could, he could just bring out Lele first, and set up the Psychic Terrain in order to, oh no, because then, yeah. So, yeah, in order to, like, guarantee that KO. But yeah, he's able to trace the Sand Rush, and that's you know, a bit of a problem, because down goes Stoutland, and Tapu Koko, if he is timid, potentially lives this, but he is not. And there was actually no real reason for him to be timid, because Modest, I think, still hits 399, which outspeeds Tapu Koko and Crobat, which were the fastest members of my team. So yeah, Mega Alakazam is able to clean up using my own Sand against me. Bit of an unfortunate way to end the game. I thought we actually played the first half of that game really well. I thought we played around the Munchlax quite well. The Medium Ash play onto the Hitmonlee was really good. But yeah, we just forgot one thing, and you can tell from the the start of this video where we're talking through all of the different things that my opponent had that I had to consider going into this matchup, like the Dragon Dance Sweepers and the Psychic Terrain and the 2 Trappers and all of this stuff, and we forgot the ability on the Mega Alakazam. And it comes back to bite us. So we do go down in a narrow 2-0. Well, in the end, not particularly narrow, because our path to victory was never actually a path to victory, but it felt narrow at the time. We go down to a 2-0 loss. That leaves us at 3-2 with a +3 differential, which is pretty a reasonable little spot to be in. Hopefully we can go 4-2 moving into the sort of halfway point of the season, because I believe it is a 12-week season. But yeah, GG to Zone and the Hamilton Torracats. Really impressive team. I really like it. I want to use a team like this. It looks super fun in the future. But yeah, so GG once again. Until next time, peace.